has already done, except to maybe build upon some of the ideas and some of the concepts and some of the constraints, some of the problems that he was sharing with. Yes, I was getting introduced as the largest power producer through my company. 19% installed capacity and producing almost 30% of the power of the country. We take a lot of pride in that every third bulb is through our company. But the fact remains, I slightly would like to go back historically. We got created in 75, and a group of 5 people were collected together. They hired a small place in Connaught Place. What would they be thinking about into creating a company of this size? What would they be dreaming of? How would they be trying to visualize what kind of people we would be requiring in future? With this important thought, I thought they were very wise people, in the sense that they said, no, we don't want lateral recruitments. To start with, yes, a few people laterally from some of the associate industries, but like startups, ITs and startup MSMEs, they did not have any experiential background as to how to build up a power station. The only vintage kind of stations they had in those days was SEBs, created way back in pre-independence eras. So how do you build up a company of this size that we are today? Dream big. How do you strategize? And more importantly, how do you plan for people to run them? They said very rightly that, okay, no lateral recruitments, we should have our own training schemes. Let us induct plain, simple graduate engineers or management people into the company. Not in ones or twos or fives or tens, but in hundreds. And late 70s, early 80s, we used to count them as batches, batch 1, batch 2, batch 3. So right now, at this point in time, we are almost about 30 batch strong. We're right now about 25,000 people. And I'm sorry, I slightly disagree with Dr. Divakar. Retention has never been our problem. I guarantee that if a person, a graduate engineer, stays with my company for 3 years, he's hooked for life. This is my 29th year running in this company, and I was recruited way back in '82. Again as a graduate trainee, fresh graduate from engineering colleges. Hardly a few engineering colleges in those days around. People look up to were IITs, a few national NITs and those kind of institutes, and some basic engineering skills. Civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, control and instrumentation. And 35 years down the line, we are still sticking to the same thing. So probably those people were very wise as to how do we create something which is sustainable, which is lasting. Just the last year when I was attending a conference of HR individuals, a challenge, an HR kind of a challenge was thrown up at me, and people told me that in IT industry we move people across continents within a span of 48 hours. I shift a people from Bangalore to maybe Las Vegas or to California within 48 hours. How much time do we take in mobilizing a person from one place, one location to another? I said, I'm sorry, but I take 3 months. Now, why is it the times have changed? Why is it that the requirements have changed? Why is it that as a PSU, working in a PSU space, we need to reach out? and keep up with the times. If an IT sector person is able to relocate his manpower within 48 hours, let us give ourselves a target of at least 48 days. And so on with the induction process. Again, Dr. Divakar said that he would desist from going to the campuses. We were the first. We said, no, let us go ahead and go visit the campuses. Obviously, those questions came up as to which campus. Right now, we have about 4,000 engineering colleges. So which ones do I choose? And the easiest choice is, again, the brands. Let's go to IITs. Let's go to NITs. Should we follow the India Today kind of university ranking or Business Today kind of university ranking for visiting campuses? A lot of debate took place inside our company. And we said, let us, to start with, start experimenting with campuses of IITs and NIT repute and see how we go from there. Try to create analytics as to how these campus recruitees fare in their career, in their upgradation of knowledge and skills, vis-a-vis our own mainstay program called Executive Engineering Trainee Programs. Hardly any difference. And when I look at the back at the analytics of the people trying to compete, I think in your opening address, you rightly said that hardly any differentiators. How do I create differentiators? We tried with the open recruitment systems. Yes, we are in a PSU space equal opportunity employer, but what does this mean? Does this mean that my advertisement needs to reach out in a smallest possible villages of, say, Bhadoi, Mirzapur, Shaktinagar? Or does this mean that I create an equal opportunity, an equal platform for people to compete? If I only visit IIMs, do I provide equal opportunity? I don't think so. And how do students or young recruitees, young engineers from IITs fare vis-a-vis somebody coming from backwaters of any place you can think of? I think one of my senior managers came up with a wonderful philosophy. We don't require geniuses. Let them go to Silicon Valley. The so-called quote-unquote war on talent, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. We require mediocres. I'll train them. Only last week when I was watching this beautiful movie called Life of Pi, and there's this tiger on the boat, and he says, I know tiger is an animal, it cannot be tamed, but for sure he can be trained. As placement officers, here sitting in this room, are we paying enough attention of training our people? Dr. Divakar very rightly raised this point that basic, I'm sorry again to put it on record, basic engineering skills, basic knowledge is lacking. Fundamentals are not there. Much less the higher philosophical plane of values and ethics, the very basic engineering skills for which they are given the degree. It's just not available. Last year in our GATE scores, cutoff was as high as 96th percentile of GATE for our interviews, out of about 2 lakh registrations. But when I sat down to interview, sir, a shortlisted candidate, about 2,000 people, I'm sorry, I was amazed as to how people can get 96 and 97 percentiles and not yet know the basic concepts, basic fundamentals. Something very seriously wrong, either with our pedagogy, either the way we impart our training or impart our knowledge and skills to the students. And secondly, much more important part, Dr. Divakar already had placed it on the agenda, the softer skills. If I ask a young engineering graduate to sit down in a group discussion and come up with his own ideas, to come up trumps in a group discussion, he's completely unaware as to what this thing is all about. How do I differentiate myself in a group of my peers, all engineering graduates, all from different institutes, 4, 5, 6 people sitting together, thrown a topic to them? How do they try and differentiate? There are institutes, I would not like to name them, but there are institutes who are slightly touching upon those areas, but a large number of them on basic issues of communication, on basic attitudinal skills. He raised a very, very big issue, attitude. And I'm not talking of aptitude. Attitude is a much more deeper thing. He would still like to stay, he would like to get recruited in NTPC. All those pay packages of 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs is fine. But then his priorities are, how do I get a posting as early as possible to Delhi or Mumbai? If he's to get postings in Delhi and Mumbai, who is to build up my projects in Chhattisgarh, where I have half a dozen greenfield projects opening up? And why, for God's sake, then did you choose up a career in civil and mechanical and electrical? Is it that all along you had it planned that you wanted to shift over to IT and into those kind of hunky-dory environments of Hyderabad and Bangalore and Delhi, Mumbai? Industries and businesses are not, definitely not, running only through these centers. We talked on, touched upon the thing, I think Professor Kak also built up on this theme of employability in small and medium sectors, employability of the people. We are not touching on those core areas. Either in context of attitude, a young engineer comes up and starts thinking of owning a house. Not in backwaters of Shaktinagar or Vindhyanagar or Korba or whatever, but in Delhi, in Gurgaon, in Greater Noida, in Faridabad. Sir, हमको लोन कब तक मिल जाएगा हाउसिंग का? First initial counseling sessions, orientation sessions, quite a few number of questions come up with, housing loan कब मिलेगा? When can I start owning a car? For God's sake, when are you going to learn to have a car decent enough to drive around? To learn the basic skills. Owning a car and getting fat pay packages, all right, that's all important. But please don't have misplaced priorities. When do we teach our students to have pride in achievements? I take a lot of pride that I built Farakka back on the borders of Bangladesh. Naxal problems, militant problems, so on and so forth. 10 of us went there and started living in tents. But when I offer my young engineers that here is a greenfield project in a place called Barethi, he said, sir, when can I get my posting in regional headquarters? Is there something right that we are doing as placement officers present in this room? Or are we going to seriously introspect as to how do we provide this kind of sense of achievement among students as a more prioritized thing than money? Money will automatically follow. In any case, it is to follow. If you have a good brand behind you, if you have a good solid background of achievement behind you, money will follow. Will not have any dearth of houses and cars and whatever. When I had a group of young engineers at a place called Koldam. We were building a hydro project there. He talked of Bilaspur. That suddenly reminded me. It's a project between Bilaspur and Mandi, high up on the hills. I said, let's stay together. Field hostel and those kind of furnished accommodations were still getting built up. Let's stay together, find up avenues as to how we can take pride in achievements. Said, sir, शाम को कुछ करने के लिए नहीं होता है. Let's create all kinds of sporting facilities for you. Build up tennis courts, build up badminton courts, build up cricket fields, so on and so forth, even in those areas which are constrained, and not one single taker. I said, what did you do in your 4 years or 5 years of engineering? What do you want actually? Said, sir, यहाँ पे malls नहीं है. I said, find out where's the nearest marketplace. I'll provide a bus for you. I'll provide transportation for you. And believe me, I mean, those weekends were very satisfying to those students just by visiting the nearest marketplace, finding out an internet cafe just to chat around on their Facebooks and Twitters and so on and so forth. And not using those beautiful sporting facilities or theatrics or workshops, theater workshops that we had, or cultural centers that we had. What kind of values and what kind of ethics we are building into our engineering students? Just to look at internet and Facebook are very, very impersonalized things, and not take pride in socializing, in trying to find a lot of satisfaction in sitting down in a group of 5-10 people and coming up with new ideas. Is it only because we have taught them to learn only by sitting in classroom lectures and never taught them social skills? I don't know how many of the engineering colleges or management institutes are really actually into creating some kind of platform for them to learn into these kind of basic skills. Take pride in achievement, have some basic skills for socializing, take a lot of pride in developing your communication skills, some of the very softer aspects, and yet build up some of the very basic fundamental knowledge base. You're coming up for interviews to a company and they don't know what NTPC is all about. They've not even bothered to look into, they claim to be internet age, but large number of them have not even bothered to look up the net and find out what NTPC is all about. I said, what do you know about the company? I'm sorry, sir, I don't know. If this is the basic premise in which you want to start a career, what kind of professionals are we creating? Very highly ambitious, very into getting all kinds of shortcuts. That tomorrow my peer in Unilever, getting engaged in Unilever, is driving around a Honda City, and I'm staying in backwaters of Koldam or Bareilly. For God's sake, he's selling soap. If as a mechanical engineer you want to sell soap, go ahead and do it. Why learn mechanical engineering? I had civil engineers who would come up and say, "Sab, डैम प्रोजेक्ट में हम काम नहीं करेंगे." अरे यार, सिविल इंजीनियर के लिए तो ड्रीम होना चाहिए कि ही इज ट्राइंग टू गेट इनटू अ प्रोजेक्ट व्हिच इज जस्ट लाइक एन आर्किटेक्ट ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड ताजमहल, द अल्टीमेट. But all is he into is trying to create infrastructural road projects. Any ठेकेदार can do that. Don't require a civil engineer for that. The basic attitudinal skills, the basic soft skills, and I'm very sure employability will not be an issue. You may have 1 million engineers graduating today. Get them to learn these basic skills. Let them be rooted soundly in their sense of achievements. Employment is not an issue. Thank you.
This is what we probably say hitting's the bullseye exactly. So questions, comments, experiences to share with.
Thank you for your the insights. I just have a question that like you said that whenever you go to institutes for recruitment, though in spite students having high scores, they are not able to answer the basic fundamentals. So do you think there is a lack, there is not a sync, the institute is not in sync with the industry related to their curriculum, and we need to remodel and overall our complete curriculum which is suited to the requirement of the industry?
For sure, ma'am. Simply because, why is it that a Maharatna company like NTPC, after recruiting young engineers, should run a training program for a 1 year duration? If that is required, that would simply mean I don't have off-the-shelf engineers who can, with a very short orientation course of say 3 days or 6 days, start running with the ball. I need to realign them, I need to refresh their skills, I need to teach them fundamentals again, all over again, and not for 1 week or 15 days or 2 months. It's a 1 year program. So for sure, all the engineering colleges, not all, most of the engineering colleges need to look as to what is being required by the industry.
So can't like the PCUs can come with these tie-ups, not only the government, usually they are with the government institute like IITs and NITs, but even the players who are in the private, working as private players, to have a corporate tie-ups or into this, the requirement, the value add skills which is requirement. So you need not go for a 1 year training. What is additionally you are giving once you recruit? I mean, we are giving you, the colleges will directly give you the employable recruits. If you give us like what you need, what is the requirement, the colleges will start giving you that immediately rather than you recruit, then give them a training for a year.
It's a very, very pertinent question, but then had I been a Reliance or an Adani, I would have gladly come forward and had an MOU with you or with any other institute. The question is, how do I justify a tie-up with X institute and not Y or Z? To come up with very basic parameters of having an MOU and get engineers off the shelf. It's very easy saying that I can have MOUs with IITs only. But then, as I said, I don't want IITs.
Sir, can I add to the answer?
Yeah.
I'm answering logical extension of your answer, and I'm taking this liberty with your permission, sir. I'm an ex-NTPC. I was with NTPC in the 80s. In the 80s, NTPC was having that GP scheme, and they were having this program, GP training program was for 2 years, not for 1 year. 2 years. 2 years. Thermal engineering and power plant engineering, innovation of knowledge and practical development of course curriculum. Now many engineering colleges, some part of what NTPC evolved has gone into BTech, and lot of what knowledge they evolved, practical knowledge, has gone into MTech with specialization in power engineering and all that. So the NTPC has free of cost given that knowledge to many institutions and reduced their training period from 2 years to 1. Okay. Sorry sir, I asked it.
Even further, as I said, I would.
That shows the bonding with them.
Yeah, sure.
6 years I spent.
Sure.
It's a wonderful company. I was very passionately living when you said we don't have a problem with retention.
Yeah.
Just I would like to add on this. I think some gentlemen spoke about the quality of the faculty, because a lot of younger faculties are being recruited and they are not able to, perform that well. They are not competent enough to perform. So, I mean, maybe there also there is a lack of industry institute interface there. So,
if we can have a kind of a faculty development programs where the industry is coming to train, like master trainers to these trainers to help the students.
We would always be glad to in extending any of our skills or knowledge and wisdom, if that is the right word, I think. But then, the business models I was discussing with this gentleman here in the morning, the business models of all these engineering colleges and management institutes is so skewed. At 40% intake level, you are having problems.
Yes.
At 50%, 55%, you are just about breaking even. And then you have this problem, serious problem of having good faculties. Now, you need to have an integrated look into the whole scenario. By integration, I would mean, yes, visiting faculties or interactions with industry interface is one area, but it's unbelievable that what amount of knowledge is transferred and shared through peers. What kind of infrastructure, I think Professor Kak touched upon that area, what kind of peer structure you have for building up a learning culture. Faculty is all right, faculty is important. They do require hand-holding, they do require guidance. But if you have a peer culture of learning through seminars, through workshops, through interactive sessions, probably some of the softer skills that I'm talking about also get developed along the line. It's phenomenal. The kind of learning takes place when 5 students sit together and discuss a problem area amongst themselves. Hand holding is all right, and experienced faculty is all right, but as far as information is concerned, except for I think Dr. Goyal's visa, everything else is available on the net. They can have those kind of information resources off the net, but peer learning culture in most of the institutes, engineering colleges and management institutes, is not available.
Yes, that's what my point was at that time. Because many of the organization or many of the college, I can rephrase that, most of the colleges doesn't think or doesn't take seriously the faculty development program. And even you can have a fund from AICTE. AICTC every year provide fund for faculty development program, but nobody is going to hit that. And that is very much essential also, because if you want to retain a good or growing faculty in your college or in your institute, you have to provide it training, because trend is every day changing, so that the knowledge also. And if we are not providing it, and if we are always blaming to the faculty, then it's something is there on which we are not targeted. Okay. Sir, one more thing, because as a TPO or a training placement officer, we also an employee of a corporate, right? We can guide a corporate, but we can't we can't run the corporate. We can say that you have to do this, but if they are not interested, we can't force them. One suggestion for your 1-year program, that you can run any employability test scholarship program in which you ask basic question or basic area of knowledge, and let run this program on all over the country, and let come people from the backwater or from the inner side of village and face that scholarship program. And after that, if you if they provide or if they through with this program, you can again provide scholarships or financial aid for their education, and at the end they will end up with your company. And this is the way that employee can retain in any organization. If you provide, if you grow, if you feel that his problem is a part of an organization, that is the policy on which employee can retain in any organization. Thank you.
As an initial response, I can only thank you. You've come up with an idea, but then as an integrated whole, we at NTPC have tried to create these kind of bondings right from grassroots levels. We have created as many as 16 ITIs ourselves. We are on the lookout of having a engineering college in partnership with NTPC of our own. on the lines of maybe oil companies, some oil sector people have taken a leap over us. We intend to have medical colleges of our own, but then the problem and the mindset which holds us back is, once I'm through with this kind of an engineering college, I'm assured a job in NTPC. The kind of linkage mentally that is created holds us back as to how many jobs can we offer year on year basis on a sustainable level. And in a PSU space, once those linkages are created, again, I would say I'm not a private player where I like my bed and go and pick it up from the market. I have to be a fair player in the market.
Sir, what I'm talking about is scholarship program. If anybody is got a scholarship from NTPC, it means that it's his or her basics are clear, so he can get a job in any PSUs if you qualify him or her. And along with the engineering field, we also face problem, like industry also face problem with the gray scale labor. We are creating right now is white collar labor. We doesn't have in manufacturing industry we find many problems in gray scale labor also. So we have to colleges or organization should focus on that level also, that we have a good qualified machine operator or feeder, because most of the jobs also a large amount of jobs are also available in this sector also, like in any government and private organization. Am I right, sir?
Yes, you are, but then again, issue is not employment, issue is employability. And when I say that, employability is at very, very serious risk in spite of 4,000 engineering colleges available in the country.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think all the DPOs sitting here have some mindset already which you're not able to understand. So let me clear the way. Every one of us, most of us maybe, have tie-up with Infosys. So Infosys has actually spoiled all private colleges. They can afford to. So they have this MOU signed with all of us where they are running Infosys Campus Connect program. So now we presume that everyone can have so. I mean, not everyone is an Infosys, and Infosys can afford to have, and hire people and keep them on bench for 9 months. Not every organization has. But definitely all the colleges, all the training placement officers would think it is esteemed, privilege, honor to have tie-up. And they would try their best. And if yes, PSUs can, so it is going to be, one of their coveted things, that if they can, make a dent in it. Henceforth, these discussions.
Yeah, that's what we want.